In order to get a really, really nice flat result with the glue, you need to use a bunch of glue. Okay? You need to try and cover 100% of the surface. After you cover 100% of the surface with plenty of glue, we need to add pressure through our hands. And what I like to do is cover with a thin piece of scrap paper first. That way I'm protecting that magazine paper. The magazine paper, it's pretty fragile. It can rip when you're trying to cut with the X-Acto blade. And yeah, if you're just using your hand without any scrap paper protecting it, you could ruin the color, that you've been working so hard to find. Anyway, look at this. This is how we use the thin brown cardboard here. Once we start applying glue to smaller pieces of paper, you want to make sure you're getting total 100% coverage. So I just kind of glue on to the back of it, and then some glue ends up on that flat piece of brown cardboard. Anyway, little cutting tip for you guys with the offhand. You want it to be just behind the blade. So this is the dull side of the blade, and this is going to help the paper sit super flat while you're getting a really nice clean cut. So I have my whole background done at this point. I'm going to start adding on these different details. And this is what I'm talking about. In order to get total coverage, you got to take that glue stick and you end up getting glue on the thin brown cardboard. But that's the only way you can get 100% total coverage on the back of the piece. Little detail about the piece I'm going for here. I found a cool looking suit, person in a suit, except they have a hand sticking out. In my reference, the person doesn't have a hand, but I'd be driving myself insane flipping through papers for hours and days trying to find the exact same thing. Notice in the face as well, the face I have selected, my dude has a beard. In the reference, there's no beard. Okay? It's not about matching the color perfectly. It's not about doing the same exact thing. It's just about capturing an overall vibe. All right, so I have the suit. I think the suit that I found looks more interesting because the hand has some rings on it. Anyway, at this stage, it's very important to continue to use the graphite transfer. I graphite transferred the exact size of the apple right on top of that green color there. And then it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. I'm not having to just guesstimate how large the apple is and mess it up a bunch of times. If you just graphite transfer first, the proportions are going to be perfect. The apple is a pretty big deal in my composition, so I ended up adding a few different shades of green in order to make it look more 3D. That's another helpful tip with art in general. Whatever part of the piece is the main focal point, if you just spend more time there, add more details there, it's always going to help it look better. Graphite transferring the red of the tie here. And this is another suggestion I have for the whole collage thing in general. There are some really awesome textures and patterns going on. The face of this boy that's on the cover of this Nat Geo, it's this chalky, powdery red, which is just a really interesting texture. And you'll notice after I cut out the red tie, you don't even really see that it's chalk or powder. It just kind of looks red. But don't be afraid to cut out some crazy texture. As long as the color and the value is on point, it'll totally translate. So after graphite transferring the dimensions of the tie, I'm just going ahead and cutting that out. And then once again, using my thin piece of cardboard, I am going to be gluing on top of that. Do not glue on top of the table. Do not glue on the cutting board. Okay? If we ruin the cutting boards, ruin the tables, I mean, it's just a messy situation. It ends up making all the artwork suffer, and the artwork doesn't look quite as neat as it could. So please make sure you're using that thin piece of cardboard along with the scrap paper. You know, after putting something on there, I will cover it in scrap paper and then apply pressure with the side of my hand, making a fist, and that'll get a really nice, clean, flat result there for you. So anyway, this was a quick one. This is one of the easier ones. On the left, we have my collage, and on the right is the original. This is a surreal painting done by Rene Magritte. It's called Son of Man.